So yeah, that's right. Has the Geophagus paradise turned into a nightmare? You read that title correctly. I don't just want to be somebody who shows you a tank that we set up and it looks pretty decent, and then all of a sudden you don't hear about it for months on end, and then everything is just fine. Well, everything is not 100% just fine in this aquarium. Let's go take a closer look. So this is the Geophagus paradise. We just set this tank up a couple weeks ago, and there are some things that are happening to it that, well, are not ideal, and I just want to go ahead and start off with the biggest one. There is a fish missing in this aquarium. This was a tough one, and I knew there was a risk here when we moved them. So we moved all the fish to the 150, from the 150 to this 125, and they were all older. And one of the fish that we lost was our Geophagus. And so that Geophagus it was always a concern. I used to tell Joanna, hey, if we ever have to move that fish, at least the last year or so when we were thinking about doing this may not go 100% well because it's a 10-year-old fish, and sure enough, we moved it. It was stressed out. It sat there in the corner over there for a few days, and then I found him at the bottom of the aquarium. So it was obviously a very, very, very tough thing to have to deal with because that was my all-time favorite fish, and we've had him, like I said, for about a decade or so, and it didn't make it. So that's a really sad thing. The rest of the fish are fine. The clown loaches are all hiding in the back. I see them come out in the morning, and then they just kind of go back there. All the plecos are fine, but you will see that the name of the aquarium is still the same because this was always the plan as well, and that was to add more Geophagus. And so I had these guys. These are most likely Geophagus megasema. I would love to hear your opinions. If you are more of an expert, one of them might be an Altifrons. This comes from the group that I got where the bags weren't labeled. I had purchased Geophagus megasema, Altifrons, and wine milleri. And they all came in bags and when they were really, really small, they looked pretty much exactly the same. I'm thinking at this point they are most likely megasema just due to the huge spot that they have on the side of their body, with the exception of one of them doesn't have quite as large of a spot. But we'll see. The nice thing is all three of those fish look very, very similar, so they're all going to be beautiful. Now, back to problems with the aquarium. So obviously I already mentioned the biggest one. The other thing is the clown loaches, of course, and some of you mentioned this, and we knew this would be possibly the case, is they become a little bit active, and a lot of these plants that we put in here don't have the deepest roots just yet. And so you'll see things like this. So you got a crypt floating over there. Over here on the other side, let me just go ahead and show you from the top view. We do have some jungle velvets floating. So the other thing is we've got the wood over there, and yes, the wood is floating. And that's basically the clown loaches. They decided to dig some holes, and because they were so large, they were able to break off some of the wood. Not break it off from larger pieces, but the glue. So the parts that we had glued together, those were two smaller pieces that were glued. And I'm just going to wait for that wood to sink, and then I will place it back over here where it belongs, and maybe I will reglue it, or Joanna will reglue it. So that's the plan with the wood, but it's just easier at this point to wait for it to sink. I know it looks kind of bad right now, but hey, that's just the breaks. Now, other things that are going on, in fact, you can see, look at, there's a little clown loach tail. He's not little, but there's a clown loach tail sticking out of the rocks over there. So they are back there. Other than that, so far, I really like the aquarium. I like the way I still like the way it turned out. Obviously, with those unfortunate things happening, that's not the best. The filter, the Oaza Biomaster 850, you can see here, still kicking out a ton of flow. Love that. It did the job, and so I know some of you, when you first saw the aquarium, especially if you saw the filter review video, like, man, that tank is cloudy, what is going on? And I said in that video, and I said in the video where I set this up, the cloudiness will clear. Just have patience, right? We didn't do any water changes. We didn't do anything to the aquarium. We didn't freak out. We didn't put any clarifier in there, although that stuff can work sometimes. I just let it clear naturally. And so that's pretty much what's happened here. I haven't done a water change on it yet. It's only been a couple of weeks, and it's been, for the most part, very lightly stocked. Yeah, the clown loaches are bigger, but they're not eating a super ton right now like they used to, just because, again, they got moved. They're still insecure right now because clown loaches naturally like to hide, and then you put them in a situation where, hey, guess what? You are going to get caught with a big giant net. they spent 90% of their time behind that wood. The geos are eating great. The plecos are eating great. That's why they're over there, because I fed the tank a little bit earlier, and that's where all the food fell. And so they're not, you know, they're smart. They know where the food's at. So this is the Geophagus tank. I will give you updates. I will also tell you, as a preview, let me just come over here. I'm working on the other one. That's all you get to see right there. I love this new 125. That video will be out in a couple of weeks most likely. But yeah, we're at a point now where Joanna's going to be gluing wood together, or gluing the wood together and the rocks and planting it very, very soon. So Geophagus tank, the Paradise, yeah, it turned into a nightmare for a little while. It is recovering.